It's great honor and privilege to welcome today's chief guest, Professor Srikrishna Deva sir, Hon'ble Vice Chancellor, NALSAR University. Professor Srikrishna Deva sir obtained his LLB and LLM from Kakatiya University, Warangal. He has secured MPhil from National Law School of India, University Bangalore, and PhD from University of Delhi. Professor Srikrishna Deva is a teacher and scholar in criminal law and access to justice. Professor Rao is currently Vice Chancellor of NALSAR, Hyderabad since November 2022. Before joining NALSAR, he was Vice Chancellor of National Law University, Delhi from 2020 to 2022 and also served as Vice Chancellor of National Law University, Odisha for 6 years from 2014 to 2020. Professor Rao was a Fulbright Nehru alumni. He had the distinction of working with 5 prestigious law universities in India for the past 3 decades. National Law School, Bangalore, NALSAR, Hyderabad, Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar, National Law University, Odisha, and National Law University, Delhi. He was a visiting fellow at the University of Washington, Seattle in 2012 and School of Oriental and African Studies, London in 2013. His major areas of research are in criminal law and criminal justice administration. Professor Rao received the highest award in the field of criminology, Kumparappa Reckless Award for his outstanding contribution in criminal justice in education in India by Indian Society of Criminology in 2020. Professor Rao was chairman of the Committee for Reforms in Criminal Laws constituted by Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India constituted between 2020 and 2022 and submitted report on reforms in Indian Penal Code, Code of Criminal Procedures and Indian Evidence Act in February 2022. Professor Rao was also member of the Indian delegation that presented the Universal Periodic Report of Human Rights at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, November 2022. Sir, thank you, sir, very much for accepting our invitation, and the House is very fortunate to have you today as our chief guest. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. I request Professor Srikrishna Deva, Honorable Vice Chancellor of NALSAR University, to please enlighten our audience with your address.
Sri Venkatramana Garu, Registrar, Praveen Rao Garu, Padma Raj Garu, former Vice Chancellors, Dr. Raghuram Reddy, Dr. Seema, Dr. Sudha Rani, distinguished guests, invitees, students, and friends. So I stand before you today with immense pleasure and pride as we gather to celebrate the 9th Foundation Day of Prof. Jayashankar, Telangana State Agricultural University. It's a privilege and honor to interact with you today as it provides an opportunity to share few ideas and thoughts and also to rethink on the concept of sustainable development. All of us, we know, development is an important for all disciplines in the higher education. In law, both in all the NLUs, we have a compulsory course on law and development. In the NALSAR, when we started in 1998, we introduced not just law and development, law, poverty and development. That was one of the most sought after course in NALSAR. So obviously all of us, we are concerned about development, we discuss about the development, and development is agricultural development and agrarian movements and the land reform movement, several other things will come up. There's several phases of development. the conventional development, the development paradigm we look at, modern day development, science technological development, and several other things. So sustainable development is a very interesting. And if you look at international development, particularly Human Development Report, first time you see all over the world, UN Human Development Report has really created the first time benchmarks and indicators. I think all of you must read from 90s onwards, and now there are several indicators for everything, rule of law index and several others. So I will not go into much details, but I wanted to emphasize that development, sustainable development is a very interesting paradigm cutting across branches of knowledges and disciplines. Further, sustainable development, its impact has a great future learning for both agricultural universities and law universities. I used to offer a course on agricultural biotechnology. I learned many things. And I developed a personal interest in agricultural law. I remember our second batch student, this girl from Chittor. She was, after passing out LLB from NALSAR second batch, she was able to get an admission to study LLM in agricultural law in Arkansas University. And later she worked in the FAO and several years, now currently based in Toronto, Canada, but she works on agriculture, bamboo cultivation, and several other. So sustainable development, as I said, has a great impact, both disciplines, agriculture and law. Incidentally, this year, NALSAR started an innovative legal aid program for farmers called Agri Legal Aid Clinic. I'll speak about this later part of my interaction. So I would like to spend some time on 4 key issues. First, concept and notion of sustainable development. Second, understanding sustainable agriculture, including sustainable farming system. Here, I was just looking about 2 success stories, so I'll share with you 2 success stories. Third, our new experiment on agri-legal aid. And lastly, visualizing multidisciplinary learning and how agriculture, law universities should combine and work together in future. Let me first start with understanding sustainable development. So all of us, we are aware the idea and concept of sustainable development goes back to 50 years in the light of environment protection. In India also, we have seen, I think all of you have heard about Bhopal gas disaster. And Union Carbide Company, which is an American company which has a Union Carbide India Limited in Bhopal, and that raised several development. That's later your Environment Protection Act came into India, and several other regulatory mechanisms were in place. So similarly, this, you look at the Stockholm Declaration of 1972, recognize the intricate relationship between environmental conservation and economic development. It also started a new understanding about the link between human beings and environment. It developed the connection between economic growth, environmental protection, agriculture, and well-being of the people. Sustainable development has emerged as a cornerstone of our modern world, a path towards harmony between human progress and the health of our planet. In this context, the role of agriculture becomes paramount, as it is not only a source of sustenance, but also a key player in shaping the destiny of our environment. The challenge before us is significant to feed the growing global population while safeguarding the ecosystems and natural resources for generations to come. After 1972 Stockholm Declaration, the major Birkeland Report 1987 defined the sustainable development for the first time, which was also acknowledged and endorsed by the UN General Assembly in the 1987, the same year. I'll just briefly mention what is this sustainable development endorsed in 1987, the UN General Assembly. It says sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Thereafter, the notion of sustainable development became the key concept in the international policy making, not just only environment, but also other policies. The Rio Declaration 1992 underscored once again, and as a part of it's again adopted UN Conference on Environment and Development, which is a widely accepted policy on sustainable development. This Rio Declaration of 1992 has again mentioned 27 common minimum principles. This is the international history relating to the sustainable development. And today, sustainable development became an umbrella concept for all discussions related to human development, social and economic development, promoting environmental protection and sustainable agriculture. Let me now look at the sustainable agriculture. Agriculture is one of the most important agenda of sustainable development. I still remember my mother always used to say, in fact, 60s and 70s, particularly, I don't know whether it's a peculiar feature of the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh or in all other landowning states in India. Everybody they refused to take any employment at that time. మనకు ల్యాండ్ ఉంది చాలు ఇంకేం అవసరం లేదు అనేవాళ్ళు. I think I still remember trying to recollect the Sumati Shatakam. ఎవరైనా వడిగల రెండెడ్లు గట్టి మడిదిన్నుకి బతుకుటే మహిళో సుమతి, వీరి దగ్గర వాళ్ళ దగ్గర మనం పనిచేయడం ఎందుకు అన్న కాన్సెప్ట్ అప్పుడు 60s ఉండేది, బట్ వి సీ దట్ ఈస్ ఎ చేంజింగ్ లేటర్ ఆన్. బట్ సో దేర్ ఫోర్ అగ్రికల్చర్ ఈస్ ద మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఎజెండా ఆఫ్ ద సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్. ఇట్స్ డైరెక్ట్లీ లింక్డ్ టు బేసిక్ మినిమమ్ నీడ్స్ such as right to food, food security, conservation, biodiversity, and broader environmental debates including intellectual property rights. If you look at right to food, if you are interested in law, I think you must study some part of the law, and particularly the Constitution. And Constitution in the directive principles refers about agriculture and nutrition. But particularly if you look at the Indian Supreme Court's interventions in the right to food, are amazing. And they have completely written right to food as a part of the Article 21. ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఒక లాయర్స్, జడ్జెస్ వీళ్ళే కాదు, ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళు చదవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. పర్టికులర్గా అగ్రికల్చరల్ స్టూడెంట్స్, ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ ఎనీవన్ ఈజ్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్, ప్లీజ్ రీడ్ ద ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. అండ్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫండమెంటల్ ఆస్పెక్ట్, ఆర్ if somebody asks which is the important article of the Indian Constitution, of course people will first look at Article 14, equality. But along with Article 14, Article 21 is also one of the most fundamental of the fundamental rights, right to life and personal liberty. So right to food, Indian Supreme Court in several occasions, starting from 2001 to 2004, you look at several cases. In fact, Supreme Court has followed a continuing mandamus to implement the right to food, but it was just confined only to the public distribution system and to see that the rice which is lying in the Food Corporation of India godowns is distributed and it is rotten. But you must look at the right to food jurisprudence which was created by the Indian Supreme Court. So therefore, the sustainable developments is linked to basic minimum needs, right to food, food security, conservation, biodiversity, and broader environmental debates, including intellectual properties. As you are aware, India's Green Revolution remains the most defining phase of Indian agriculture in the last century. An input-intensive and technology-focused approach helped India to avoid potential famines and meet its food security needs by reducing food imports. While the Green Revolution has ensured India's self-sufficiency for our cereal needs and has touched most Indian farmers, its long-term impacts are now visibly evident. be it degrading topsoil, declining groundwater levels, contaminating water bodies, and reducing biodiversity. These are some of the side effects of the green revolution, what we have seen. Measuring climate change science is making it evident that input-intensive agriculture is both a contributor and a victim of climate change. Therefore, sustainable agriculture is a prime need for developing India for the future sustainable development. As the world population continues to grow to 9 billion by year 2050, much more effort and innovation will be urgently needed in order to sustainably increase agricultural production by at least 70%. Improve the global supply chain, decrease food losses and waste, and ensure that all who are suffering from hunger and nutrition have access to nutritious food. Agricultural systems worldwide must become more productive and less wasteful. Sustainable agricultural practices and food systems, including both production and consumption, must be pursued from a holistic and integrated perspective. Interestingly, Articles 47, 48 of Directive Principles of State Policy in Chapter 4 of the Indian Constitution recognizes organization of agriculture. If you see Article 48, which in the Directive Principles speaks about agriculture and animal husbandry. First time the word agriculture and animal husbandry you can see in this Article 48. Similarly, Article 47, which emphasizes on duty of the state to raise level of nutrition and standards of living and to improve public health. So all of you, if you are familiar with the Indian Constitution, you see the Part 3 is a very important chapter of the Indian Constitution. Part of the Indian Constitution which are there, fundamental rights are mentioned, and Part 4 which speaks about Directive Principles of State Policy, which are fundamental in governance of the country. Land, healthy soil, water, and plant genetic resources are key inputs into food production, and their growing scarcity in many parts of the world makes it imperative to use and manage them sustainably. Boosting yields on existing agricultural lands through sustainable agricultural practices would relieve the pressure to clear forests for agricultural production. Wise management of scarce water through improved irrigation and storage technologies combined with development of new drought-resistant crop varieties can contribute to sustainable dryland productivity. Shaping the development of sustainable agriculture of a country depends heavily on the judicious mix of its available resources. The productivity growth can be primarily increased by two modes. First, increasing output with more efficient use of available resources, and secondly, by increasing output by variation in agricultural input. First holds more merit in the light of productivity and sustainability, yet due to ever-increasing population, this method may not provide a permanent solution. However, the second method may potentially cause environmental degradation. There is thus an urgent need to tackle issues relating to development of a sustainable agriculture in India. Now, let me devote some time on sustainable farming system and share with you two success stories in this context. You are all familiar with the ecological sustainability, economic sustainability, and social sustainability. I will not devote time on that, but let me share two success stories of sustainable agriculture. The first story comes from the success story of organic farming in Enabavi, a small village in Warangal district. And Enabavi is this small village in Warangal district which tells us the story of sustainable farming. The entire village is not using any chemical fertilizers nor chemical pesticides. This small village attracts attention from all walks of life. With just 51 households in the village started shifting to organic farming about a decade ago. Then in 2005-06, the entire land of 282 acres was converted to organic farming. Today, Enbavi has many valuable lessons to teach to our farmers. They have lessons to share on social regulation of the village, learning from each other. They also teach their school-going children the knowledge and skills of non-chemical farming. Second success story is just recently reported. This is from mangrove restoration project in Paderu with the help of tribals. This is a success story brought into limelight by Shankar, an Indian Forest Service officer in Visakhapatnam district. This is a success story about mangrove restoration project undertaken by Shankar with the help of tribal communities in Andhra Pradesh. Shankar undertook successful mangrove restoration program. Anant says, I quote, local fishermen played a crucial role. The entire process was carried out by hand without machines. Our primary goal was not just restoration, but ecological restoration. Everything from choosing the land, understanding the salt levels and tides, picking up plant species, deciding when and how to plant, creating planting channels and determining their depth was done by the tribals with the help of this IFS officer Anand Shankar. He further states that the success of the entire project hinged on their expertise, people's expertise. They offered us more insights than we provided them. The local tribal communities have been pivotal in obtaining seeds of several plant species on the brink of extinction in the region. These communities also have loads of historical information on species that were once abundant but are now rare. These are the two success stories clearly demonstrate that organic farming and sustainable agriculture is the future. Let me now share about the new experiment what we have started, Agri Legal Aid Clinic catering to farmers' legal needs. I think some of you may be aware that there is legal aid system which exists in India. We have an institutional mechanism to support and promote legal aid. Legal aid and services is for the poor, marginalized communities is a constitutional mandate. And we have 1987 onwards, there is a National Legal Service Authority at the national level, which is chaired by a senior judge at the Supreme Court. Yesterday, Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, who is the chairperson of the National Legal Service Authority, was in the NALSAR campus delivering the convocation address. Similarly, you have in the state level, second senior most judge will look after the state level legal service authority. Now you have a district level and taluka level. So legal aid is a very robust mechanism of reaching out to the people and communities, those who are unable to engage with the justice system, and to provide them the access to the law and the court system. So access to justice is a very important aspect of the constitutional mandate and the preambulatory promises. So therefore, we have seen in India starting from last 4 decades of legal aid. You know, all of you are familiar with the prison legal aid. You are also familiar with the legal aid which is being given to the child rights issues, environmental protection and several other issues. So when we were looking at these issues, and also I must mention that contribution of the NALSAR in 2000, when the government of Andhra Pradesh started Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty. There's a World Bank program which was started by the Ministry of Rural Development State of Andhra Pradesh. That was the time I was teaching a course in the NALSAR on legal aid course, so we were interested. So we said, why there are cases relating to land were lying with the revenue courts. The district collector, joint collector deals with several of these land disputes. So I went with a team of the students. We stayed in a Mehbubabad village in Warangal district, studied why there was a delay in the disposal of these land land disputes. That started emerging for the first time, starting the land rights paralegal program in Andhra Pradesh that was a part of the Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty, Rural Development Institute, which is based in the Seattle, the University of Washington. Again, is a very interesting story of Rural Development Institute. This professor started as a program part of the University of Washington. All of you know about Seattle because Microsoft main office is in Seattle. You know several of your friends, relatives in Seattle, the information technology hub of the United States. So Seattle, where this University of Washington, Professor Roy Posterman started his course on rural development as a part of the School of Law, University of Washington in Seattle. Then later it developed as a professional international group based in Seattle. So we started working with the Rural Development Institute Seattle in 2003-2004, and that's how first time the Andhra Pradesh has contributed, NALSAR has contributed development of the first ever land rights paralegal system. And then one of our alumni has taken up that, and he has been working in Andhra Pradesh and several other parts of India. So looking at the experiment of the land rights paralegal, we thought let us extend the legal aid not just only to the land rights issues but correlated to that farmers issues. So that's how our the new innovative Farmers Legal Aid Clinic took shape this year, and thanks to Justice Naveen Rao, at that time he was the chairman of the Telangana State Legal Service Authority. He immediately has helped us, and we started this land rights Farmers Legal Aid Clinic we call as Agri Legal Aid Clinics. I have also read, you can correct me, and clinical legal education is something United States, Australia, Canada, all over the world is a very innovative program as a part of the new method of learning. Clinic we borrowed, legal education borrowed clinics from the medical science. You know, a medical college will not offer any instruction unless they have a hospital, teaching hospital. So clinic is very familiar, popular word in the medical higher education terminology. So we started developing that clinic. Prison legal services clinic is popular all over India. I have also read agricultural education also has started some agri clinics. But looking at extending that from the land rights to the agriculture and farmers issues, this was started this year with the help of the Telangana State Legal Service Authority. And this is Article 39A, which was clearly mentions about in the Indian Constitution, justice to all. That's the 39A is the major spirit behind the legal aid. So farmers, we thought about developing this as agri-legal aid clinics because farmers are one such community who have not been provided legal aid and services when they face problems related to land, seeds, water, fertilizers, etc. Agriculture and its allied sectors are the largest source of livelihood in India. Many agricultural laws have been passed to promote and regulate agriculture sector, ensure food security, but the farmers do not have an access to deal with these institutions. Farmers can approach the Consumer Forum. If you look at Consumer Protection Act 1986 and also now the amended 2019 Consumer Protection Act is a remarkable forum. In fact, if you look at the progressive forums is Consumer Forum, Family Court Forum. In fact, these two legislations have a provision barring the advocates entering into this forum because they don't want to be an adversarial proceeding. It's a people-friendly courts, whether the Consumer Forum or the Family Court Forum. They provide anybody to argue and submit, not necessary lawyers. So therefore, but there is a very little awareness about how to deal with the consumer forums. And forum has a consumer forum is not only a district judge, but also somebody who is a expert from the professional NGO, or somebody who is involved in the consumer also is a member of the consumer forum. So these are all the remarkable institutions, not conventional court systems. So therefore, farmers can approach the consumer forums for getting compensation under the Consumer Protection Act in cases of spurious seeds, non-germination of seeds, or less or no yield. You know, the marketing companies or fertilizer companies will provide so many guarantees. Once you use our seeds, you will get so much of output and several other things. Several promises are failed. I know there's a marketing has really developed, and of course that is their sustenance. So therefore, if any of these yield was not proper, non-germination of seeds, consumer forum can be approached. But the farmers rarely seek redressal under the consumer protection. So therefore, Agri Legal Aid Clinic, we started this effort by NALSAR University to help farmers to develop institutional mechanisms and effective system to empower the farmer. This is the first time a legal aid mechanism is used to help the farmers. In fact, this Telangana State Legal Service Authority, this scheme was also appreciated at the national level, and other state governments are also thinking of taking this further. So the Agri Legal Aid Clinic help in resolving the labor, water, land and other problems faced by consumers. I wanted just two more issues. One is how the technology development we must use. I wanted to give one example of our recent research project we have just undertaken with the Australian government, and then I'll come to the last part, how do we nurture sustainability in agriculture. Technology, particularly advancements in artificial intelligence, machine learning, has significantly enhanced the creation of new knowledge and research across various fields, including agriculture and digital health. I think it's going to come up. And people started thinking negatively that artificial intelligence will take away the judicial system, and like we had these apprehensions when Rajiv Gandhi first time introduced computers. Everybody thought that computers will take away. I'll give you another example. When Advocates Act was amended, the Civil Procedure Code was amended first time. You know, Civil Procedure Code is something very difficult law which deals with how the civil courts has to function. In 1990s, there was an experiment and there was an amendment to the CPC that the court, before proceeds with the case, they should explore resolving the case by alternative dispute resolution method. If the court fails to explore resolving, then only they should proceed with the adversarial method of court hearing, examination, chief, because it takes a long time. So this was also opposed by advocates. These are the two examples we have seen in the history. One is when computers were introduced, everybody said it will take away. Now we have seen how computer is an integral part of that. Similarly, I'll give in the legal profession, as I said, civil procedure was amended, all advocates were against. Now they have realized arbitration, mediation, dispute resolution has become a buzzword in the dispute resolution in the legal profession. So, don't look at the artificial intelligence as a negative concept, but look at significantly. It may not, like I always used to say, artificial intelligence will not write the judgment. Artificial intelligence also has its own limitation, but it has a profound impact in the coming years. So we are looking at this. If you look at use of artificial intelligence already started in several areas, particularly the university. If you are giving a research project, you know about the various debates about ChatGPT, how do we do that, or what are the other methods, research papers, several other issues are coming up, but we have to deal with more intelligently. So this is now we have just technology is promoting inclusivity in digital health through AI and machine learning. We have just taken a recent project with the Australian government, with the Melbourne University, Australia. We are looking at how to build inclusivity by design in the health technology. You know, like fine tech, health tech is also emerging. We are looking at the secondary data which is available in India and Australia, how it can further help in the healthcare. This is an interdisciplinary research collaboration that facilitates cooperation between legal experts, healthcare professionals, data scientists, policy makers to address multifaceted challenges. We leverage understanding of healthcare regulations to ensure policies aligned with the existing laws to protect patient rights. We also look at ethical insights that contribute ethical perspective to navigate in the moral implications of artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies in healthcare. Lastly, about nurturing sustainability and agriculture. Over the years, agricultural education played a commendable role in transforming Indian agriculture and achieving sustainable development goals. It has to go beyond offering of mere technical agricultural education, but move towards developing sustainable socio-economic entrepreneurship, including human skills and linking agriculture to industry and public service. Startup ecosystem and entrepreneurship should be taught as a part of the higher education in all the university. We have NALSAR, we have created a Section 8 company just looking at the entrepreneurship and working very closely with the Telangana hub. I think Agricultural University also should closely work with the T-Hub, which is doing a wonderful work and which is showing a direction to the higher educational institutions in India. As rightly observed by Irina Bokova, Director General of UNESCO, I quote, "Now more than ever, education has a responsibility to be in gear with 21st century challenges and skills that will lead to sustainable and inclusive growth and peaceful coexistence." Sustainable Development Goal 4 on education is essential for all universities to achieve all the Sustainable Development Goals, which aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Here, legal education, agricultural education should work together. We should learn from each other. We should think about in future developing a course on a joint course on agricultural law. Friends, as we commemorate the Agricultural University's Foundation Day, we must remember that sustainable development in agriculture is not a singular achievement, but an ongoing journey. Each of us has a role to play in this narrative. Whether you are a student, a researcher, a farmer, or a policy maker, your choices and actions reverberate across the landscape of sustainable agriculture. Let's champion agroecological resilience, minimize food waste, and promote equitable access to resources. Let us engage in ethical consumption and support local farmers. Let us embrace the principles of circular economy and conservation agriculture. Let us, in all our own capacities, become stewards of the earth. In conclusion, as we celebrate Agricultural University's Foundation Day, let us also celebrate the foundations we are laying for a more sustainable, equitable, and prosperous agricultural future. The journey is long, the challenges are great, but the rewards bountiful harvest, thriving ecosystems, and a wonderful world of nourished in harmony, there we all have to reach. Thanking you for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your fond memories about your good old days in and around our campus and about the most revered personality, Professor Jayashankar. Sir, we are deeply indebted to you for your valuable advice and guidance about ecological, economic, social, and agricultural sustainability, along with examples and case studies. Sir, thank you also for emphasizing on the important articles and rights related to food, land, and agriculture provided by the Indian Constitution and about the robust role of NALSAR University in framing those rights. Thank you again, sir, for your valuable address.